Hello again, everybody. Happy Hoya days. Welcome back. We're probably getting close to a third of the way through here. I can't believe we've already been through so many different Hoyas. Today I have for you another one of my favorite Hoyas. I know I say that often. I really, truly do love Hoyas. But this one is, again, at the kind of top of my list, one that was on my wish list, one that I just absolutely love. And it is the Hoya Australis Lisa. So beautiful, beautiful plant. Hopefully I can get those leaves there for you. They're a little bit on the thinner side, and it's got this beautiful variegation. So the Lisa variation of the Australis actually does have this beautiful variegation. That variegation actually comes in, the white spots come in a little bit pink if you give them enough sunlight when they first come in. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful plant. So a little bit about the Hoya Australis in general. As the name would imply, it does come from Australia, and it was actually first discovered in 1828. The flowers on the Australis are white with the pink center to them. Really, really pretty. But this one in particular, I think, is really prized for its foliage. I mean, look at the variegation on that. Just so wonderful. If it never bloomed, I would be perfectly content. I adore these leaves. So a little bit about the care of the Australis. The Australis tends to be one of the more hardy types of Hoyas. The Lisa, obviously, it's got a little bit of variegation, so it does need that care with the light, that it's getting enough light, that it can produce its chlorophyll, but then also not so much light that it can burn. I actually had this one in my east-facing window for a brief period of time this summer, and it did do well. It did put on a lot of growth, but I noticed that some of the leaves were starting to get a little bit sunburned, so I went ahead and pulled it back. It's done awesome ever since. It is a relatively fast grower. When I got these earlier this summer, they were a little bit shorter, and they've put on quite a bit of new growth, especially for it being a variegated variety. The variegated tends to grow a little bit slower, so I've been really impressed with how much this actually has put on. It also tends to be a little bit on the limp side, so this is one that I wouldn't necessarily let hang over. I actually would have this trellis up, so when it gets a little bit bigger, this one, it just doesn't support itself, or it's not necessarily a vining or a draping one. So this is definitely a variety that I would put on a stake or a trellis, something like that, and let it grow upwards. As far as the watering of the Australis goes, it does tend to need just a little tiny bit more water, a little more attention than some of my other more hardy, thicker Hoyas, just because of the shape of the leaves, the thinness of the leaves. It just doesn't hold as much water, so I go ahead and check it a little more often. I still let it dry out pretty much completely in between waterings, but I'm not letting it go several days without being watered. So you can see the medium here is actually pretty chunky, just like most of my other Hoyas. It does have a little bit more potting mix in it, just by a tiny, tiny amount, again, just to hold a little bit of extra moisture. Some of my thinner leaved Hoyas tend to have that. So I think that does it for today's Hoya, the Hoya Australis Lisa. If you can get a hold of the Lisa in particular, it's beautiful, but any of those Australis are going to be an awesome Hoya for you to have in your collection, something that's going to improve your Hoya care. Thank you guys so much for joining me again today. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit subscribe, and make sure you come back again tomorrow. We'll talk about a different Hoya, and I will see you guys in my next video.